Hello, Dahi here from Timestamp Softworks, and welcome to the August 2023 devlog for Prometheus Wept. I've wrapped up the rebel side of the food convoy mission, where you will ambush and capture a food convoy destined for Sunny Pines. This mission is comprised of 3 battles. In the first, assisted by rebels, you'll have to halt the convoy and incapacitate as many guards as possible before the truck makes it to the edge of the map. Now, you can allocate time units to a variety of actions, such as chopping down a tree onto the convoy's path to occupy some of the guards and clearing it, making caltrops to slow the truck, and any guards which have not been incapacitated in this encounter will join the defenders of the next one. So I'm going to go and cut down a tree. That will cost me 4 time units. That will obstruct the convoy, forcing the guards to clear the obstruction, or some of them. Okay, and I'll have 10 time units remaining. So there are a number of options here. One thing I did in this for this encounter was I added the ability to deploy troops to specific tiles. Now, this is opposed to repositioning a number of tiles from a character's starting position when combat starts. So this allows for things like choices like lockpicking a building to open up more concealed deployment slots. As we can see here, if we pursue this action, these extra slots will be opened up, which are quite close to to where the convoy will stop. And I'll go ahead and do that. This sort of new type of deployment, it'll be useful for situations where you're ambushing an enemy, or cases when the player doesn't control the map and can't. It's not logical for them to be able to move their characters around at will. So I've 7 time units remaining. So I could use stealth to open up some more deployment slots closer to the road if I wanted. I could place an explosive to distract the militia. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Proceed, and we can see the explosive has been placed there. So this required a certain amount of work on AI behaviors, both for escorting, clearing obstructions, and I also reinstated the AI fleeing code from vigilantes. This took a fair amount of time, probably around a week or so. And now, before combat starts, I have the option to deploy my troops to any of the green tiles. So I'll pop some in this building that we just unlocked and put a couple more on the other side. And we've got the convoy comes in. It's blocked by the fallen tree. And you detonate the explosive then to backfoot or distract the militia. Okay, so my goal at this point would be to knock out as many of these as I possibly can. Now, the rebel troops that I have are primarily equipped with explosives and melee weapons, whereas most of the ranged are the militia. Any of them wearing an orange uniform are carrying a ranged weapon. So in terms of firepower, we're sort of outdone here. So I'll just skip through a little bit of it. So as you can see, this character will start to try to clear the road for the truck, and it will take them a little while. So this buys you, if you hadn't done that, these militia would be running towards you now. The other militia, they're effectively set to escort the convoy, so that they will attack and maintain their distance to the convoy. That's more or less how their behaviour will work. So I won't play through this now. It would take a little while. I'll move on to the second encounter. Okay, so this is when you've cleared up the militia, and so the second battle tasks you with assaulting an entrenched militia enemy at the militia outpost the convoy has retreated to. So you'll be joined by Gordina, who you can see here. Gordina is an awakened old-world postal robot who's a skilled tactician and very durable, but cannot be repaired in combat. So the defenders, I'll move on to the next map, pursue the convoy, and continue. Okay, as you can see now, there was a bridge here, which the defenders have destroyed to make crossing the river more perilous. And you'll have a number of options here. Again, you're awarded a certain amount of time units based on your party. And you have a number of options, including making pontoon bridges. You can sneak a couple of troops across the riverbed here under the cover of darkness to infiltrate the enemy camp. You can rally the troops. Now, I don't have enough awareness to look for traps, but you can also use your tactics skill and at a lower time unit cost to evaluate the most likely position for traps. And you can see there's a number of mines placed along here. Now, once you have revealed them, their range is reduced to the tile themselves, so they won't go off as they would have if you had stood in any of the adjacent tiles. So you can get through them without setting them off now, since you know where they are. And I'll go for creating pontoon bridges to... Obviously, the cost of crossing water is higher, and you, being primarily melee, you will want to get close to the enemy. So each one of these it'll cost you 10 time units to get across here. If you don't have pontoon bridges, it'll cost you half as much if you have them. So that's a pretty good investment too. And I won't go through the story now. I'll let you discover that for yourself when you get there. And again, we have our deployment area that's set up. It wouldn't have really made sense to have a large deployment area into the enemy's camp, but rather, because of this tile-based deployment, we can have our number of troops that we snuck across the riverbed in here, and they will, obviously they won't have to cross the river. Now, another extra feature I added to the game, I added some first off-map ability. So this is effectively from a machine which Gardena, the old world postal robot, has created, and this is a smoke launcher. And this ability costs you nothing, can be used once every turn, and basically allows you to deploy some smoke every turn. So say if you wanted to move, maybe your characters would get this far in this turn, you could deploy smoke here to cover them from ranged firepower, and hopefully get closer to these ranged characters and knock a couple of them out more easily. So there's quite a lot of tactical options here. It's now the final battle will have you. This is after you defeat the militia. Your departure will be interrupted by a final attack. And again, you have a number of options, and it is also possible to fail to capture the convoy, which will change the outcome of the finale, which I'll be working on next. To explain sort of the thinking behind a lot of these things that I'm doing, for example, the extra AI behaviors, the time units to modify the battlefield, the convoy missions, the different types of deployment, the off-maps abilities, basically operated on the belief that variety is one way to elevate the game experience. So these additions all contribute to a deeper bag of tricks, which I can continually use to add variation, minor and major, to the gameplay. Now, it is a very time-consuming approach, but I think that the results will merit the effort in the end. And that's it for this devlog. I'm going to start working on the finale for Act 1, and I'll also develop work on world building, and I will check in again in the near future. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, do let me know.